Hey, it's my life and what I do doesn't affect you. Or does it? Have you ever heard of the butterfly effect? Maybe what I do in private does affect you. Let's explore this idea in this week's 5-Minute Torah. Welcome back, Torah Tribe. You're watching the channel that connects disciples of Yeshua to the eternal Torah of God. First, if you haven't watched the other video for this week's Torah portion, the first half of Mattot, then you want to be sure to check that out right here. It's in the link above or the description box below. Next, I want to thank you again for helping promote my video, The Good Shepherd, from last week. Because you guys gave it a thumbs up when I asked you to, if you liked it, if you appreciated it, we got more than twice the number of likes and 3 times the number of views. It was amazing. Thank you so much for helping us out in that way. As I mentioned in my other video on Mattot, this week's portion is a double portion, and it's the last reading in the book of Bamidbar, or the book of Numbers. This week's Torah portion is Mattot Massei, and it covers Numbers chapter 30, verse 2 through chapter 36, verse 13, which is actually the end of the book of Numbers. And I've created 2 separate videos that focus on the individual messages of both Mattot and Massei. And I want to emphasize again that these may contain the most critical concepts from this entire series, so be sure to check both of these out. This particular video will focus on the portion of Massei, which is Numbers chapter 33, verse 1 through 36, verse 13. And here are the 3 things that you need to know about it. Number 1, boundaries of the land. One of the topics covered in this week's Torah portion is the boundaries of the land of Israel. The Lord spells out the exact borders of the promised land that he was about to give to them, and this entire land remains the inheritance of Israel, no matter what the anti-Semites tell you. Number 2, cities of refuge. The Lord gives Moses instructions for establishing 6 cities of refuge where a person may flee to avoid the kinsman redeemer if he were to commit involuntary manslaughter. The problem is that Moses was forbidden to enter the land. So how is he going to create them? If you want to learn more about this, especially the lesson that Moses had to learn about being given an impossible task, be sure to check out my article, Eating Elephants, Kosher Ones, that is, in the description box below. And number 3, Zelophehad's daughters revisited. The book of Numbers ends by revisiting the situation with Zelophehad's daughters. The leaders of the tribes of Joseph realized that there'd be problems with the inheritance once these women married, particularly if she married outside her tribe. Therefore, a seemingly new commandment is established, limiting heiresses to marry only within their tribe. We're now in the biblical month of Av, and Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av, is the saddest day on the biblical calendar. Why is it so sad, and what should we be doing on it? Stay with me until the end of this video, and I'll tell you how you can download my free Tisha B'Av quick reference guide. It'll give you all the major historic details of Tisha B'Av, as well as how to observe it today, including a special focus on what we, as disciples of Yeshua, should be doing in order to help transform this day from a day of sorrow into a day of joy. When the children of Israel were about to cross over the Jordan and conquer Canaan, the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and the partial tribe of Manasseh petitioned Moses to remain on the east side of the Jordan so that they could begin settling into their inheritance. Rather than continue the conquest along with the other tribes, they found what they desired, land fitting for cattle, and they had cattle, and they wanted to settle down. They wanted to finally start putting down some roots after 40 years of wandering around in the desert, living a nomadic life. But their plan wasn't in alignment with God's plan. But what was so bad about their position? We find out in a rebuke from Moses. Why will you discourage the heart of the people of Israel from going over into the land that the Lord has given them? Your fathers did this when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. And behold, you have risen in your father's place, a brood of sinful men, to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will again abandon them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all this people. This is Numbers chapter 32, verse 7 and 8, and verses 14 and 15. To the modern ear, it sounds like Moses is making a big deal over nothing. But maybe there's more going on than what we realize. You've probably heard of the butterfly effect. It's a scientific theory that speculates that the flapping wings of a single butterfly in one part of the world have the power to affect the weather in another part of the world over time. In other words, a seemingly small and trivial action has the potential to cause astronomical and often unanticipated results. The Midrash Rabbah in Leviticus Rabbah 4:6 has a story where a small boat with a few passengers takes off across a lake. Once they're in the middle of the lake, one of the passengers takes out a hand drill and begins drilling a hole under his seat. Immediately, the other passengers chastise him for his foolish actions, but he objects. "What does it concern you if I drill beneath my seat?" Although the ramifications of this person drilling a hole in the boat are immediately evident, the point of this dramatic story is the same as what is going on in our Torah portion. Remember, the children of Israel had been sentenced to 40 years of wandering through the wilderness so that an entire generation would be eradicated simply because they slandered the promised land and refused to enter it. Check out Numbers chapter 14. Now, these tribes appear to be separating themselves from their brothers and once again refusing to cross over the Jordan in order to conquer the land that was promised to them. Although they didn't intend on harming their brothers, their actions nonetheless had the potential to hurt them. The other tribes were looking to them as an example, and they were about to let them down. Once Moses corrected the confederacy of the 2.5 tribes, he gave them a stern warning that things would not bode well for them if they didn't live up to their obligations. He gives them the famous quote, "But if you do not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out." This is Numbers chapter 32, verse 23. What does it mean, your sin will find you out? It means that our choices and our actions are never isolated events. They will always produce ripples in the pond that will rock another person's boat. It's a reminder of the butterfly effect. One person's actions have the potential to significantly impact another person, whether they intend on doing so or not. In other words, my choices affect more than just me. Even though the choice of these tribes seemed innocent enough, their subsequent actions had the potential to nearly decimate an entire nation. Most of Christianity emphasizes having a personal relationship with the Lord. But even though we may have a personal relationship, our relationship is not merely personal. We often fail to recognize that our actions affect others, whether we actually know about them or not. Judaism realizes this and emphasizes the communal aspect of faith and action. What we do individually, even privately, has the potential to affect others. It's the flapping of the wing or a ripple of the water. Just like the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh, our faithfulness or our unfaithfulness isn't just a private matter. It can make or break others, particularly those who are dependent upon us or who are looking to us for leadership. Let's remember to make every action intentional so that the kingdom is built up through us rather than damaged by us. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and may we be strengthened. Yay! We finished another book of the Torah. We just finished the book of Numbers. We're entering into the book of Deuteronomy. Now, let me tell you about my Tisha B'Av quick reference guide. First, it spells out the major historic details of Tisha B'Av, and then it tells you how it is traditionally observed. And last, it includes a special focus on how we, as disciples of Yeshua, can turn this day from one of sadness into one of joy through our actions. You don't want to miss this opportunity to grab this resource before Tisha B'Av in just a week. All you need to do is follow the link in the description box below to sign up for my mailing list, and you can download it right then. But if you're already on the mailing list, you should already have it in your inbox in the email I sent out this week. And if you appreciated the video, again, please just give it a thumbs up. It helps other people to see it. And be sure to check out the companion video, Mattot, if you haven't done so already. We'll see you next week with another Messianic insight into the weekly Torah portion. Shavua Tov from Emet HaTorah.